your life. Bing bong.
If you see these dogs in your front yard, just know upstairs I'm going hard. Bing bong.
What do you want to tell Joe Biden right now?
What's up, baby? Take me out to dinner.
Hey, yo. Ariana Grande, what's up, mama? I'll come to Coney Island to...
On a quiet Thursday evening in Galveston, Texas, the sound of gunshots shattered more than just the peace of a residential neighborhood. When the smoke cleared and the sirens fell silent, a family was destroyed forever, a community left questioning everything they thought they knew about the people living next door. What could drive a 16-year-old girl to turn a weapon against the woman who gave her life? Tonight, we examine a case that has left investigators, families, and neighbors grappling with questions that may never have answers. This is the story of Tiamoya Moore, a 34-year-old mother of 5, whose life ended in the most unthinkable way possible. This is True Crime Chronicles, and I'm your host bringing you the facts, the investigation, and the haunting details of a tragedy that has rocked Galveston to its core. If you're new to our channel, we investigate real cases with respect for the victims and their families. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because every week, we uncover stories that demand to be told. Now, let's examine what happened on Avenue Q. On the evening of September 12, 2025, emergency dispatchers in Galveston received multiple frantic calls. The reports were consistent and chilling. Gunshots had been heard in the 5100 block of Avenue Q, near 52nd Street. When officers arrived at 7:49 p.m., they discovered a scene that would haunt even seasoned investigators. Tiamoya Moore, just 34 years old, lay critically wounded inside her home. She had been shot multiple times. Despite the rapid response of Galveston EMS and the medical team at UTMB emergency room, Tiamoya's injuries were too severe. She was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. But this wasn't a random act of violence. This wasn't a burglary gone wrong or a case of mistaken identity. According to witnesses at the scene, the person responsible was someone who should have been protecting Tiamoya, not harming her. The alleged shooter was her own 16-year-old daughter. To understand this tragedy, we must first understand who Tiamoya Moore was. She wasn't just a statistic or a headline. She was a mother, a daughter, a woman trying to raise her family in a world that can be unforgiving. Tiamoya was the mother of 5 children. According to family members who spoke with local media, she was described as a loving woman who was devoted to her family. Her own mother, devastated by the loss, painted a picture of a daughter who cared deeply about her children's well-being. The family now faces an unimaginable situation. Not only have they lost Tiamoya, but 4 of her remaining children have lost both their mother and their sister in one devastating moment. Family member Alicia, speaking to Fox 26 Houston, expressed the confusion and heartbreak that has consumed everyone who knew them. These weren't strangers living parallel lives under the same roof. This was a mother and daughter, connected by blood, by history, by the countless moments that make up a family story, which makes what happened next even more difficult to comprehend. Thursday, September 12th, began like any other day in the quiet residential area near Avenue Q and 52nd Street. Neighbors went about their routines, children played, families prepared for dinner. Nothing suggested that before the night was over, their peaceful neighborhood would become the center of a murder investigation. As the evening shadows grew longer, tension was building inside the Moore home. We may never know exactly what transpired in those final moments, what words were exchanged, what emotions reached their breaking point. But at approximately 7:50 p.m., the silence was shattered. Neighbor Graciela Molina was among those who heard the horrific sequence of events unfold. In her interview with KHOU 11, she described the terrifying sound.
She was screaming, and I hear boom, 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 like
sounds that pierced the evening air. She was screaming. She was screaming. And to hear? Boom, 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 boom. 5 shots. 5 distinct sounds that would forever change multiple families and leave a community searching for answers. The screaming Molina heard was likely Tiamoya's final moments of life. Multiple neighbors immediately called 911. their voices shaking as they reported what they had witnessed. Police spokesman Kurt Koopman later confirmed that officers received several calls about a woman being shot multiple times. When first responders arrived, they found Tia Moya more suffering from severe gunshot wounds. The scene was chaotic. Neighbors gathered outside. Emergency vehicles filled the usually quiet street with flashing lights and urgent radio chatter. EMTs worked desperately to save Tia Moya's life, but the injuries were too extensive. As paramedics rushed Tia Moya to the University of Texas Medical Branch emergency room, police began securing the crime scene and interviewing witnesses. What they learned would make this case even more shocking than they had initially realized. Galveston police detectives arrived to find a crime scene that defied easy explanation. A woman had been shot multiple times in her own home, but there were no signs of forced entry, no indication of robbery, no evidence of a stranger's presence. The witnesses who had called 911 were consistent in their accounts. They had heard screaming, followed by multiple gunshots. But most disturbing of all, several witnesses told investigators that they had seen the suspected shooter, Tia Moya's own 16-year-old daughter. According to police reports, the teenager had fled the scene on foot immediately after the shooting. As investigators processed the scene, photographing evidence, and interviewing neighbors, they made a crucial discovery. A firearm was found near the home, presumably the weapon used in the attack. But then something extraordinary happened. As detectives continued their investigation, the suspect returned. The 16-year-old girl who had allegedly just shot her mother multiple times walked back to the scene of the crime while police were still processing evidence. Kurt Koopman, speaking for the Galveston Police Department, confirmed that the teenager was taken into custody without incident when she returned to the home. There was no chase, no dramatic confrontation, no resistance. She simply returned and was arrested. This detail raises haunting questions. Why did she return? Was it guilt? Confusion? Did she not fully comprehend what had just occurred? Or was there something else driving her back to the place where her mother lay, dying just hours before? The teenager was transported to the Jerry J. Esmond Juvenile Justice Center, where she was officially charged with murder. Due to her age, her name has not been released to the public, but the gravity of the charge reflects the severity of what investigators believe occurred. As news of the arrest spread, the community struggled to process what had happened. This wasn't a case of domestic violence involving a partner or spouse. This wasn't gang-related violence or a drug deal gone wrong. This was matricide, one of the rarest and most psychologically complex crimes that law enforcement encounters. The Avenue Q neighborhood, typically quiet and family-oriented, was transformed overnight into the epicenter of media attention and police investigation. Yellow crime scene tape blocked off sections of the street where children usually played. News vans lined the curbs where neighbors had once felt safe walking their dogs in the evening. Graciela Molina, the neighbor who heard the gunshots, spoke for many residents when she described the shock and disbelief that has settled over their community. In interviews with local media, neighbors consistently expressed the same sentiment. This kind of violence wasn't supposed to happen here, especially not within a family. The psychological impact on the community cannot be understated. When violence occurs between strangers, people can often find ways to feel safe by changing routines, installing security systems, or avoiding certain areas. But when a child kills a parent, it challenges fundamental assumptions about family bonds, about safety within our own homes, about the predictability of human behavior. Parents in the neighborhood found themselves having difficult conversations with their own children, trying to explain the unexplainable. How do you tell a child that sometimes families hurt each other in ways that seem impossible to understand? For Tia Moya's extended family, the community impact is secondary to their personal devastation. They are mourning the loss of a beloved daughter, sister, and mother, while simultaneously trying to understand how another family member could be responsible for this loss. The four surviving children face an incomprehensible situation. Their mother is gone forever. Their sister is in juvenile detention facing murder charges, and their family structure has been completely destroyed. Child Protective Services and family members are working to ensure these children have stable care, during this traumatic period. Family member Alicia's interview with Fox 26 revealed the raw emotion and confusion that has consumed everyone connected to this case. She spoke of questioning why, a question that may never have a satisfactory answer. The family is not only grieving Taimoya's death, but also grappling with the reality that the person they must blame for their loss is themselves a child, a member of their own family. As investigators continue building their case, numerous questions remain unanswered, questions that the community, the family, and the public are desperately seeking answers to. What led to this moment? Was this the result of a single argument that escalated beyond control, or were there warning signs that went unnoticed or unreported? The investigation is still in its early stages, and police have not released details about potential motives or contributing factors. Mental health professionals who specialize in family violence and adolescent psychology note that cases like this are extraordinarily rare, but often involve complex factors that may not be immediately visible to outside observers. Family dynamics, mental health issues, substance abuse, or other stressors can create volatile situations that explode without warning. But experts also caution against speculation. Every case is unique, and the factors that contribute to such extreme violence are typically multiple and interconnected. What appears to be a sudden act of violence may actually be the culmination of issues that have been building over time. The legal questions are equally complex. How will the juvenile justice system handle a case of this magnitude? Will the 16-year-old defendant be tried as a juvenile or as an adult? What role will mental health evaluations play in determining her competency to stand trial? Perhaps most haunting of all, could this tragedy have been prevented? Were there intervention points that were missed? Resources that could have been provided? Warning signs that could have been recognized? These questions may never be fully answered, but they reflect the broader societal struggle to understand and prevent family violence in all its forms. Cases involving family violence, particularly when a child is the perpetrator, present unique challenges for law enforcement, mental health professionals, and the judicial system. While we cannot speak to the specific circumstances of this case, due to the ongoing investigation and the juvenile status of the accused, we can examine the broader context of such tragedies. Child psychologists note that adolescent brain development, particularly in areas related to impulse control and emotional regulation, continues well into the 20s. This doesn't excuse violent behavior, but it does provide important context for understanding how conflicts can escalate beyond what might seem rational to adult minds. Family crisis experts emphasize that domestic violence often occurs behind closed doors, making it difficult for neighbors, teachers, or even extended family members to recognize warning signs. The COVID-19 pandemic and its aftermath have placed additional stresses on families, sometimes exacerbating existing tensions or creating new pressures. However, these experts also stress that the vast majority of families facing stress, conflict, or even significant problems do not experience violence of this magnitude. What transforms typical family conflict into lethal violence often involves multiple factors converging in tragic ways. For the surviving family members and the community, healing will require time, professional support, and possibly a re-examination of how we identify and assist families in crisis. The tragedy has highlighted the importance of accessible mental health resources, family support systems, and intervention programs designed to prevent domestic violence. As we conclude tonight's investigation, Taimoya Moore's family continues to mourn her loss while grappling with circumstances that seem impossible to accept or understand. A 34-year-old mother's life has ended. For children have lost both their mother and their sister, and a 16-year-old girl faces murder charges that will forever alter the course of her life. The investigation remains ongoing. The accused teenager remains in juvenile detention as prosecutors and defense attorneys prepare for what will undoubtedly be a complex legal proceeding. The community continues to search for answers to questions that may not have satisfactory explanations. This case forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about family violence, about the vulnerability that exists even within our most intimate relationships, and about the limits of our ability to predict or prevent such tragedies. Tonight, we remember Tia Moya more not as a victim in a crime story, but as a mother who loved her children, a daughter who was cherished by her family, and a woman whose life was cut tragically short. We also remember that behind every headline lies human suffering that extends far beyond what any investigation can fully capture. What do you think could have prevented this tragedy? How can communities better identify and support families in crisis? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one and value your perspectives on these difficult cases. Don't forget to like this video if it helped you understand this complex case, and subscribe to True Crime Chronicles for our weekly deep dives into the stories that challenge our understanding of human behavior. Ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Next week, we'll be examining another case that has left investigators and families searching for answers. Until then, hold your loved ones close, and remember that behind every crime story are real people whose lives have been forever changed.